the wealthiest families in the world. See, once upon a time, in the intricate web of power and influence that enveloped the world, there existed an elite group of families whose wealth surpassed imagination. These families, united by their insatiable desire for control and power, formed a clandestine alliance known only as the Consortium. Each family, with its own unique history and vast empire, played a crucial role in shaping the destiny of nations and directing their course of humanity. At the pinnacle of the Consortium stood the Rothschilds, a family whose legacy stretched back centuries. Originating in Germany, they established an international banking empire that spanned continents. Their intricate financial network ensured their iron grip on governments and economies around the world. With a shrewd understanding of economic cycles and uncanny ability to manipulate markets, the Rothschilds remain one of the most influential families within the Consortium. When we talk about these most powerful families, these most rich families, we have to understand how they span throughout time, how they built their empire and their wealth over hundreds years. Next in line were the Rockefellers, a family whose name became synonymous with the oil industry, beginning with John D. Rockefeller. They built an empire that controlled vast reserves of oil and petroleum. The Rockefellers were masters of energy manipulation, holding the key to nations' growth and prosperity. Their strange hold on the energy sector granted them immense power over governments and the fate of the entire population. Can you guys believe this? For quite some time, people have been trying to figure out who is running the world, who's controlling the world. Is the world controlled by 13 powerful families or a multitude of different families in different sectors of the world? These are the questions we must ask ourselves. Because is this a consortium? Because we understand that another powerful family that is formidable force within the consortium is the House of Sayyid or Saud, rulers of Saudi Arabia. Blessed with immense oil reserves, the Saudi Arabia royal family wielded economic influence that reverberated throughout the world by establishing a symbiotic relationship with the Rockefellers. They solidified their power and became the gatekeepers of global energy supply. Are we believing this? Does this hit home yet? Or do you believe there's another secret cabal of groups of families that gather together in cahoots to dominate the world, to control the world with all of its resources? Because some people would like to believe that there's 13 to maybe 20 families that actually control the world, 99% of it, through economics. And that the rest of the world, besides these families, are trying to fight over the 1% that they do not control. Because joining the ranks of the consortium are the DuPonts, an American family whose roots extended to the early days of the Industrial Revolution. With vast holdings in chemicals and plastics and manufacturing, the DuPont shaped the world's progress by dictating technological advancements and stifling competition. I mean, their mastery of innovation and strategic acquisitions made them indispensable within the consortium. There's other groups of families. The descendants of the J.P. Morgan were renowned for their dominance in the realm of finance. From their origins as investment bankers, they grew to control Wall Street, manipulating the ebb and flow of capital to suit their whims. Through their unparalleled influence over the global banking system, the Morgans ensured the continuous flow of wealth to the consortium. Now, last but especially not least, of this piece of the wealthiest families and how they control the world is no other than the House of Windsor. Yeah, we're talking about the British royal family. Because we understand that the British royal family held a special place within the consortium. While not as overtly involved in financial affairs, their influence transcended monetary power. Through strategic alliance and intermarriages, the Windsors maintained a web of connections with the world's ruling elites. Their status as figureheads and symbols of tradition granted them diplomatic clout and the ability to shape public opinion. Now, we understand that together, these families formed an invincible network of power, intertwining their interests to manipulate the course of history. Their influence extended far beyond the realms of finance and industry. They controlled media conglomerates, shaping public narratives and directing the collective consciousness of humanity. They manipulated governments, instigating conflicts, and engineered geopolitical shifts to further their agendas. Yet, even within this formidable alliance, tension simmered. Each family sought to expand its influence and outmaneuver the others. Secret negotiations, that submarine just sunk with all those 5 billionaires. Secret negotiations, backroom dealings, and strategic alliance shaped the delicate balance of power within the consortium. The world became a chessboard with nations and populations mere pawns in the game played by the wealthiest families. But as time went on, whispers of dissent grew louder. Individuals within the consortium, delusioned by the immense power they had and suffering it caused, began to question their own action. A few courageous souls broke ranks, determined to expose the inner workings of the consortium and liberate humanity from its grips. Their journey was perilous, as the families of the consortium moved swiftly to quell any rebellion. See, you can't go outside the ranks. That recent submarine that sunk looking for a Titanic became the Titanic, where 5 billionaires perished. But the truth, once unleashed, had an irreversible monumentum of its own. Through leaked documents, whistleblowers, and the growing voices of the oppressed, the world awakened to the machiners of these power families. Public outcry grew, demanding transparency, accountability, and a redistribution of power. Governments faced pressure to rein in the immense influence of the consortium, and the regulatory bodies were established to curtail the monopoly. Slowly, the stranglehold of these families began to loosen as the world collectively charted a course towards a more equitable future. But in the annals of history, the stories of the consortium serves as a cautionary tale, remind us of the dangers inherent in unchecked power and the importance of vigilance in preserving the rights and freedoms of all. The legacies of these families, once revered as gods among men, was forever tarnished by their insatiable hunger for power and control. And so, the wealthiest families in the world, who once held dominion over the fate of nations, gradually relinquished their iron grip, allowing the world to breathe anew. Humanity awakened and united, vowed to never forget the lessons learned from the age when the wealthier few controlled the world. And the only reason why this has happened is because this grip of power of these families not only diminished, but it spread like wildfire. See, that's the part that people are not stating. These so-called wealthiest families have not dissipated, has not diminished, but the families and who they are have grown. And that's what we must take into account, right? Because when we look at the Waltons, one of the most powerful and wealthiest families in the world, and the list goes on. And as you read more and more about these families and their stranglehold on society, the Gallardo family, you see that net worth and what industries that they embark on. Now, some are just into service and products. The Rollins family, controller of the Orkin Man, worth $13.1 billion. Do they have any political control? Because as of 2021, the Rollins family owned roughly 53% of the traded Rollins Oroville Sun Grace served. We continue. The Goldman family, worth $13.2 billion. It states here the Goldman's family wealth comes from real estate. As of 2016, they own 400 plus properties in New York City, one of the most expensive cities in the world next to London and others. And the family currently owns a 17% stake in the World Trade Center developments. Interesting. But as we continue to read on, we continue to see more powerful families. The Stryker family, $14 billion. The Stryker corporations, they founded medical equipment company. It states here, each inherited a stake in the company, which generated over $18 billion in sales. See, massive wealth and massive money does equal power in the world, because you have the ability to shift power. You have the ability to give power. And the only way that your power will be taken is usually by death or other powerful people. It says here, the Chick-fil-A owner, he's worth $14.2 billion, founded the fast food chain Chick-fil-A in 1967. Took over as CEO from his father, Dan. The Catholic family has generated controversy for donating over $1 million to anti-LGBTQ plus clauses. The Dorians family, $15 billion. Campbell's Good Food, Campbell's Soup Company. They invented the process for condensing soup in the late 1800s. If you notice, all of these people are in some sort of services or products, something that you may feel as though you can't live without. The Ziff family, worth $15 billion. So the magazine publisher his father created, Ziff Davis, which published PC Magazine for $1.4 billion in 1994. It also states their brothers own several homes in Aspen and put their money towards philanthropy efforts. The Hunt family. I know a lot of these families you're probably unfamiliar with, but these are also part of the consortium. Maybe, maybe not. They're worth $15.5 billion. Hunt Oil Company. It states here, his many heirs command several fortunes, from Hunt Oil and Petro Hunt to Rosewood Hotels and Resorts. His children spend their billions on real estate, like the 6 million square foot underground business park, Tetropolis, and sports teams. Forbes valued the team to be worth $3.7 billion, including their debt. Last year is a lifetime of return. The publication estimated, meaning that this family will never go poor. This family will continue to stay rich as long as they continue to do what they're doing. The notorious, the infamous DuPont family. See, some of us just thought they made paint uniforms and gathered up with paint, but they're much more than that. Remember DuPont used to be in those old cartoons? They're worth $16 billion. This says that DuPont, they're a chemical giant that was founded in 1802 as a gunpowder manufacturer. I wonder if they was instrumental to the war or to the wars that's been spanning over centuries. It says here that over time it involved in producing everything from dynamite to plastic, and invented nylon and Teflon. Wow. Look at the power and control over those particular resources that we use today. Dynamite is used in mining, as well as they use a vast majority of dynamite to blast through hardened rock and mountains to create the railroad system in America. Very, very instrumental. They invented nylon, that waterproof material that's almost like cloth-like that repels water, nylon, as well as Teflon that is used within some of the military equipment. About 3,500 family members control the majority of the shares in the company, although none take part in running the company. $16 billion. Now, if you were part of the 3,500 family members that control majority of the shares, but you don't take none part in running the company, then my question to you is, who runs the company, and where are these 3,500 people, and what are they doing? The consortium. Maybe, maybe not. The Bush family, worth $17.6 billion, and Anheuser-Busch. Now, of course, this dates back to the late 1800s when Bush created what is known as Budweiser. While the company passed through each family generation, the estimated 25% of the business was sold between 1989 and 2008 and was fully brought out for $52 billion. Part of the family got back into the beer business with William K. Bush Brewing, but the company shut down in 2019. But where's the money? Are they still part of the consortium? The Butt family. Now, here in my particular area, they're going to build another HEB. Just as well, we went 2 cities over, they have another HEB. But I was speaking to a rep that worked for HEB, and they said that HEB is expanding throughout the entire state of Texas, where they want a HEB in every city, no matter how close or how far it is from Whole Foods, Food Lion, Kroger, etc. They are still building their empire. Now they have stores like HEB Plus. They're worth $17.8 billion and is ran by the Butt family, no pun intended. It states here that Florence Butt founded HEB grocery store in Texas in 1905, which her son Howard expanded throughout the state when he took over the company in the 1920s. His son Charles is a majority shareholder and currently runs the company, which has over 400 stores in Texas. Watch out Kroger, watch out Whole Foods. Also in Mexico, and generates over $38 billion in revenue in 2023. The Marshall family, net worth $18.5 billion. They deal in investments. Also, the Great Northern Oil Company. They have 16% shares in that. The family has spent millions on lawyers to litigate various claims to the Marshall fortune. J. Howard II made headlines in 1990 during his brief marriage to the stripper turned model Anna Nicole Smith. Are you guys familiar with her? Indeed, you are. The Brown family. See, they have one of those very generic names that you really have to know who these people are by face and not by name. They're worth $20.4 billion. The Brown Forman Corporation. The Brown family is behind Jack Daniels Woodford Reserve. Remind me of Uncle Nearest, does it not? The Woodford Reserve and the Old Forester among the alcohol brands. An estimated 25 family members own more than half the Brown's Forman Corporation, which began with the pharmaceutical salesman George Garvin Brown in 1870. I wonder if the Nearest family is going to be part of the consortium. The Hearst family. $21 billion. No, these are not just regular white girls. The Hearst Corporation, about 67 family members share the fortune that William Randolph Hearst created when he took over the San Francisco Examiner in the late 1800s. Hearst acquired the newspaper and expanded to the radio and TV. See how these people who are quote unquote allegedly inside of the consortium are in natural resources and well as media, how you can control the narratives and perspective and the minds of the people, and how you can shift the pendulum left or right by the power that you will. Creating the foundation of a media giant, Hearst Corporation, which owns 76 newspapers, nearly 260 magazines, television stations, and stakes in cable TV channels that include A&E and ESPN. Guys, the Hearst family. That's part of the consortium. But it states here that the Hearst used to own what is now one of the most expensive homes in America. The Duncan family. Not just some regular old white people. $22 billion. Duncan founded the gas and oil company Enterprise Product Partners in 1968 with just $10,000. After he died in 2010, the company remained under family control, and his 4 children inherited a nearly $10 billion estate. The family fortune has since more than doubled. It states here that Rhonda Duncan Williams is the only one of the children actively involved within the company. Serving as a non-executive chairwoman. See, all the power, none of the responsibility. The Newhouse family. Net worth $30 billion. Advanced Publications. The Newhouse family wealth derives from publishing giant Sam Newhouse created. Advanced Publication owns Coda Nast Publication, whose media properties include Vogue, Vanity Fair, and GQ. As of 2021, the company owned a 30 to 35% stake in Reddit. So for all those neo-Nazis and weird astronomers and tech and investors, this family here controls the hearts and minds of Reddit. See, in April 2016, Samsung sold the cable TV company Bright House that was worth $11.4 billion in cash and in stock. The Pritzker family, it states here, they created the family's wealth by founding the Hyatt hotel chain. No more to say there. But it states here they have also been involved in politics. Donald's daughter is the former U.S. Secretary of Commerce. Her brother has served as the governor of Illinois since 2019. Hyatt Hotels reported over $5 billion in annual revenue in 2022. Interesting stuff. Now, when you think about family who are in politics and in commercial and in retail and also with hotels, how much do they truly control, influence? The Consortium. The Cox family. $34.5 billion. Cox Enterprises, since its founding in 1898, Cox Enterprises had a hand in a number of industries, cable and broadband. Everybody has broadband. Not so much cable nowadays, but broadband. Cox Cable. You guys are familiar with this group. It states here newspapers and radio stations. Cox Media Group and the automotive industry, it generates about $20 billion in revenue per year. The Johnson family, also known as the Edward family, $36 billion. Fidelity. It says Edward C. Johnson's founded the world's largest mutual fund companies, Fidelity, in 1946, which has been run by the Johnson generation since. It's currently held by his granddaughter, Abigail Johnson. Of 2020, the family owns 49% of the company, which is shared among 6 family members, according to Forbes. The company generated over $25 billion in revenue. The S.C. Johnson family, $37 billion, produces cleaning products such as Pledge, Glade, and Windex, all the household products that you use. See? Services and products. Media controls the perspectives and minds of people. And they knew this even back in the 1800s. If you notice, majority of these families started their power, their reign, their influence in the 1800s. The question is, within the consortium, did it start with those 13 original cabal, quote unquote, families? In 1882, it was eventually taken over by his son, Herbert Frisk Johnson. Herbert died in 1928 without a will, and the family reported feuded over the inheritance until it was eventually divided between his 2 children, Herbert Frisk Johnson and Henrietta Johnson Lewis. A 5th-generation member of the family is the current CEO and chairman of the company. The Lauder family, $40 billion. Estee Lauder. We know what these people are about. Her first major order of 800 of skincare products from Saks Fifth Avenue, the company which sells cosmetics and fragrances through over 20 brands that included MAC and Clinique, reported annual revenue of over $17 billion in fiscal year 22. I guess I've been a supporter of Estee Lauder because I used to wear Clinique Happy for Men. What of a happy sun-filled day of Clinique Happy. It was a great smell. The Lauders are active philanthropists. Without some sort of secret agenda at hand, maybe. The Consortium. The Cargill Macmillan family, $65 billion. Founded giant back in 1865. As of 2020, roughly 23 members of the Macmillan family own 88% of the company, which generated over $150 billion in revenue in 2022. And as of 2015, 14 of the 23 family members were billionaires. The family reported keeps 80% of the Cargill's net income inside the company for reinvestment annually. Man, they have a stronghold on not only power, but their own money by keeping it within the family. What other family does this remind you of where they keep the money within the family and reinvest within the business by making themselves employees, and then anytime that the business shows profit, they build another business to keep the family in debt so they don't pay taxes as well? I don't know. Maybe the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds rings a bell. I don't know. Allegedly, the Mars family, $94 billion. Mars Incorporated. Jacqueline and John Mars heard a stake in the candy empire, which invented M&Ms, which we all love, especially with the nuts. Pun intended. Milky Way and Mars bars. When their family passed away in 1999, the company brings in over $40 billion in annual revenue. The family has also been targeted of criticism by politicians, screwing the ultra wealthy. Last year, for instance, Senator Bernie Sanders took to Twitter to talk about how the Mars family was benefiting from the rising cost of Halloween candy. Oh, no, you didn't, Bernie Sanders. Guess what people don't have to do? You do not have to buy candy. You can give out apples and oranges and grapes. You can give out trinkets and toys and gadgets. You don't have to give out candy, trick or treat. A treat can be anything. It necessarily doesn't have to be candy, but I digress. And it's not just peanuts. The price of Halloween candy shot up more than 13.1% between September 2021 and September 2022. And Sanders criticized the upcharge despite the family's $94 billion worth, which has likely risen during the pandemic. Oh, whoopee-doo. Tell me what candy you know is good for you. Again, I love candy. Not necessarily knowing where it's come from, but we know we can't eat candy all day or you will be fat, obese, and you will die. The Koch family, $129 billion. Brothers Charles and David Koch expanded their father's oil refinery firm and the conglomerate Koch Industries after their other brothers, Frederick and William, left the business following a failed takeover. Today, Koch Industries generates roughly $125 billion in revenue annually. David Koch stepped down from a leadership position in the company in 2018 and passed away in 2019. Charles Koch has been the company's chairman and CEO since 1967. It says here that the Koch brothers have also used their wealth to reshape conservative politics in a substantial way over the past few decades since the 1970s. And we notice the more money that these families have control, that they start to get into politics to control the whim and the will, not only of politics here in America, but around the world, the Consortium. So when I say this, the Walton family, that's right, Walmart, Sam's Club, $247 billion. So when you see people from Walmart protesting, the Walton family is the richest family in the world. Now, of course, some people may debate that and they say, well, what about the Rothschilds? They own and control this amount of land. And what about the Rockefellers? They own and control this amount of land. But today's, in our lifetime, as well as those ancient-owned families that I just named, the Walton family is the most powerful family now and the richest. Sam and Bud Walton founded Walmart back in 1962. Following success, they founded Sam's Club in 1983. In 2022, Walmart reported annual sales of over $600 billion, making it the largest retailer by revenue in the world. Guess who we have not found out yet? Because we're not talking about the richest man, we're talking about the richest family, because we have yet to name Amazon. And some of you guys are like, what about Amazon? What about Elon Musk? What about Tesla? No. We're talking about the richest families. See, the control of wealth and power can only be done so much by one particular person. But when you have 20 and 30, and like that one family, 3,500 people, and all of you rich, how more so of the world can you influence and control? See, the Walton family fortune is dispersed among 7 family members, including co-founder Sam Walton's 3 children, Rob, Jim, and Alice, who is the 3rd richest woman in the world with a $56.7 billion fortune. In June, Rob Walton, his daughter, and her husband purchased the Denver Broncos football team for $4.65 billion, the most money ever spent to buy a U.S. sports franchise. So when I tell you, it's more than just those 13 families. The power and wealth has expanded. But the only thing that has done to those 13 so-called wealthiest and powerful families have only spread the wealth to those who are already wealthy.